This Martinsville Speedway Spring DFS and Underdog Fantasy Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and available in 40 states. Head to Cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, NHL, NASCAR, F1, college basketball, and more. Sign up today using promo code RACESGPN for a 100% deposit match.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
The description says 5 days a week. We are 5 days a week. It is the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, and happy end of the week to you, Cody. Happy DFS and Underdog Day to you in Martinsville, my friend.
Happy Friday. We made it here. Happy weekend. It's here. Happy Truck Day. They're racing tonight under the lights in Martinsville on a Friday night where truck racing should be. You love to see it. It's gonna be a fun weekend of racing. We've got F1 stuff is already underway with the practices. Then we got trucks today, Xfinity tomorrow, Cup Series on Sunday, little F1 mixed in their race on Saturday night / Sunday morning as well. I'm pumped. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
What a time to be alive. And if you're a baseball fan, then that's that there too as well. And there's so much going on. WrestleMania this weekend.
Final four for men and women. There's a lot of stuff going on.
There is a lot of stuff going on, but the action is hot and heavy on the track. We are at Martinsville again all weekend long, like we talked about, trucks, Xfinity, and Cup all in action this weekend. And as we are starting to want to do now, we're going to break down this DFS again, in the constant evolution of this show, we're taking everybody's suggestions and sort of balling it in. Before, we used to just give you the Cup Series picks for Xfinity and for DFS and Underdog, but we figured we were leaving the other two series out, and it's time to incorporate them. So we'll give you one of our favorite DFS plays from each of the three series, and then an underdog play for each of the three series, because God bless it, Coney, they're all out, so we might as well do it, right?
You got that right. Absolutely. I love it. Yeah, it's nice covering all three, and then obviously we've got the Discord discussion too. You can always jump in over there if you're wanting, our thoughts on more drivers, and or once qualifying and lineups are set, we can give more opinions as well.
Holy hell, that Discord, man! I swear to God, you guys know if you're in it. I honestly try to keep up, but I'm telling you, when I log in and I see like 600 messages already that I got to get caught up on, I'll read through them and I'm like, I don't even know what to say anymore. I have nothing more to add to this conversation because these guys have got it covered. So shout out to you guys in the Discord for just being sharp minds.
It's good to get the community's opinions too. You can get our opinions and, tag us if you've got questions for us and stuff, but you can ask a question in there and you'll get 5 other responses from other guys, or more than that even. And, go into a discussion, and we got some guys that are deep data divers. People are creating spreadsheets and sharing stuff and looking at, Preston's always in there shopping lines. He'll drop in there and be like, hey, who wants, who are you guys looking at? And he'll go shop lines everywhere and create a big tracker for where the best lines are. And it's a beautiful place to be.
And what I love the most is that new names are popping in every single day. So those of you who are joining us on Discord, sg.pn/Discord, search for that NASCAR channel. Absolutely love it. Can't even express enough to you how much it means to us for you guys to be in there as well. And I know you're listening to us, right? You're listening to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. But let it not be forgotten that we are a network. There are tons of other great shows all across this network on just about any sport that you can think of, to include horse racing. Once upon a time, there was even disc golf on this as well. So if you want to talk about truly degens, you guys are truly degened enough to. Cody, did you ever listen to the AUDL podcast?
Was that one of your podcasts, Rod?
I was not. That was not mine. No, that was the Wolf. I was Chase. That was
I didn't want to make you feel bad if I didn't listen to your show. But,
no. But I did help host that show once upon a time.
Nice.
Yeah, I watched the Disc League, and that was, I'm telling you get pretty degen in there. But again, that's one of many shows that are out there on this network. But we are featuring this month the MLB Gambling Podcast because it is, of course, baseball season. Giants are in full swing. Screw the Dodgers. Let's go Giants. And right now they are giving you picks, the MLB Gambling Podcast, every single game of the baseball season. Cody did the math. That's like 4,000 games, buddy.
That's it was over 4,000 games. That's a lot of fucking games.
It's a lot of games. So make sure you're checking them out. Subscribe to them where you get this podcast and all your other favorite podcasts. And of course, check them out on YouTube. I don't know what you're waiting for, but you probably should stop waiting and get to there now.
Yeah, you can pretty much keep yourself busy every day if you just listen to all the shows throughout the network, and a lot of good ones. We got a lot of really great hosts and a lot of good shows. And look, I mean, it's all on the same network. We all have the same bosses. You know, the freedom they give us and what they allow us to do, and it's like that on most of the other shows as well. So wonderful, wonderful place to get all the shows you need and got all the sports you want covered.
Indeed. Yeah, I told everybody on the Arena Football League podcast to go find a dark space and get caught up on all of the videos there. Yeah, I tell you what, just find yourself a dark space and start queuing up the SGPN network because you're going to need a dark space and a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah, you go into that SGPN network feed and click play and it'll never stop.
It'll never stop. All right, Martinsville. We are there, Ridgeway, Virginia. There are several laps around this 0.526 mile paved track. Again, each one has their own 200 laps for the trucks for a 105-mile race, 250 laps for the Xfinity Series for a 131-mile race, and then, of course, the Cookout 400 laps for a 210-mile race on this track. Short track racing. We know that the Cup Series, back-to-back, short track. I put that in quotes because obviously we know Richmond is its own beast and Martinsville is its own beast as well. But the trucks had the week off. They come back and they get the short track race after a road course. But yeah, I mean, go back, listen to all three of the betting episodes because as we tell you time and time again, if this may be your first time listening to this particular episode, we do a very deep dive into several drivers over the course of those three shows. These episodes are meant to kind of give you a brushstroke version of drivers we like for each of the situations. But again, you get way, way deeper in the betting episodes. So if you're into that kind of stuff, please join us there. But yeah, this is meant to give you at least one of the drivers now from all of the series that we like for both DFS plays, kind of a building block type of a situation. And then, of course, the underdog plays, which are, pretty much hard and fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you covered everything really well there, Rod. Short track, a lot of laps. Obviously, they're clicking off quickly. All three series, it's going to be important to get the laps leaders. So you're going to want to make sure you do that. I mean, 200, 250, 400 laps in the Cup Series. You've got to get the people who lead laps. Just kind of looking through each of the series. In the Truck Series, we talked about it a lot yesterday on the betting episode. It's a pretty weak field in general. So I think I do find it funny, Rod, if you look at the odds, obviously, Sammy Smith, the favorite for some reason. But then you come over to DraftKings Fantasy and Corey Heim, 11,000, Majeski, Eckes. Sammy Smith is the seventh driver on the board, only 9,300. I feel like that's where he should fit in a little more. Still probably not going to play him, but I think you kind of load up on the big dogs and then find some more veteran guys throughout the field, which is kind what we're going to talk about at lower prices. Xfinity Series, again, it's going to be important to get the lap leader. Leaning heavy into the Toyotas again this week. I think Eric Almirola is going to be the type of guy you're going to want to go after. And then when we get to the Cup Series, 400 laps, Rod, I will say don't overreact to qualifying, because if you look at, and we were just having this discussion in the Discord last night, if you look at the top 10 in qualifying at Martinsville, it's often not reflective of the top 10 finishers here. But I will say whoever qualifies on the pole, you almost have to play, because we see it almost every time. They just lead the entire first stage. It's really hard to pass. Not a guaranteed thing, but Ryan Preece last year led the first 137 laps. Obviously had the speeding penalty and got sent to the back, but still recovered for a 15th place finish. So he had a great day. But you're probably going to want to play whoever starts on the pole. Outside of that, don't overreact too much to the starting lineup, I would say.
Yeah, and you bring up a fantastic point, especially in the Cup Series. I mean, we've seen 100 laps, 200 laps led on this one, so you can't really miss on the lap leader, which is why, I mean, granted, when we were first doing this show in the DFS versions, we were giving you a high price, a mid price, and a low tier driver for the Cup Series alone. So as we give you these building blocks, keep in mind that we may not always be talking about the highest price guys on the list, which are the ones that are more than likely. I mean, just to give you an example, Hamlin, the highest price driver this week, right, the DFS slate. Can he go out and lead 200 laps in this race? You're damn right. But that's almost a no-brainer. So we're trying to dig a little deeper for you to give you a name that we think can give you value. And
you're going to get a solid example of that when we get to my Truck Series pick, because not a guy we talked about on the betting episode, a pretty cheap guy, but a guy that can be a pivotal piece in fantasy this week. Again, if you're able to go back and listen to the betting episodes, even if you can't bet or you don't want to bet for fantasy purposes, it's good, because that gives you a pretty good idea of what we think of guys, who we're on, who we're fading, who we think has top 10 potential, top 5 potential, who's had good runs, who's had historically bad runs, whatever the case may be. So it does all kind of incorporate in together, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, we're only giving you 3 apiece, like 3 apiece of the, well, 1 from each, honestly, from both of these. So there's tons of other drivers that are available out there on both Underdog and DFS, obviously. So as you start to hear us talk about other drivers in these episodes, you can also use that to build your Underdog pick'em slips, or your DraftKings lineups or whatever. So again, take this as for what it's worth. But if you want a more comprehensive view, make sure you check out the betting episodes. So we won't beat you over the head too much more with that, because again, if you're a loyal listener of all of our shows, then you already know the drill, and you already know how to put all this stuff together, because betting, DFS, Underdog, it all goes hand in hand stats wise. It's just all how you end up putting it to use at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, then we will start to get into our favorite plays, but let's first tell you about Cut. Cut is a social peer-to-peer betting network that is available in 40 states. I got to tell you right now, there's tons of great stuff going on Cut. Peer-to-peer social betting. It's a brand new way and better way to bet. Bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, other events, so long as it's got a verifiable outcome. Plus, there's tons of social features that give it the feel of a betting social network. Cut also offers the lowest VIG and fully customizable odds, which means you can create your own bets. And believe you me, Cody has done several times over. I'm finally getting off this night, so make sure you check it out. I got some Cut bets up there. You want to take me up on it? I believe I've got an SVG bet up there, because I know there's a lot of SVG love in this world. So go check that out as well. Cut handles the payment side of things too, so you don't got to chase me down if I end up losing this bet for money. It's already taken care of in there. You can grab the money. I won't try to run, because I can't. You're going to get the money from Cut. There's social features on there too, like group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and so much more, including rewards. Get cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. So go download Cut today in the App Store or over at cut.com. That's KUTT.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We are also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You are going to hear us give you our favorite Underdog Fantasy plays for all of the series, the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, the Cup Series. What's Underdog Fantasy? It is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Plus, it's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. It's simple to play, especially for racing. All you got to do is pick better than or worse than the projected finishing positions for each of the drivers. So what do you think they're going to finish better than or worse than that position? And then stack them all up, watch that multiplier shoot up, and all the winning potential just go over and over and through the roof. Plus, you can cross sports. I know there's baseball going on. We talked about that earlier. There's still basketball going on. Other sports are happening. It's not just racing, unfortunately. But if you look for those spicy little chilies in some of those other sports where you're picking higher than or lower than the projected stat totals, you're going to get a chance to win 100x on your entry. Best of all, use our promo code RACESGPN. You're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So sign up today with that promo code RACESGPN. Get your first deposit doubled up to $100 as well as an instant pick'em special. So go visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with our promo code RACESGPN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100 as well as an instant pick'em special. Must be 18 or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Article up over on sportsgamblingpodcast.com. The women's Final Four is tonight, this evening, on Friday, of course, Rod. So go check that article out. I've got one play from each team of the Final Four in there. And so some good ones to cross sport with your racing plays that we're about to give you here in a few minutes.
Indeed. That's what I love about Underdog, too. I mean, you could just load up on every sport that's there. I mean, I know there's MMA as well, and like, and what's more, Cody, and we were talking about this in our on our internal Slack office channel. They're more than willing to add anything. The UFL is actually up now, so that's a great one too.
I know we got some IndyCar fans out there. I'm trying to work my magic and get that out there. So we've got another option, another outlet. Cricket, chess, Rod. You want in on the chess? They got it. BDGE. I don't know what that is. Sounds like bondage or something, but they've got that. Tennessee. It's all out there. So
esports is there too, right?
Yeah, esports. They got it all. So whatever you're looking for, they've got it. All right, Rod. Should we get into some of our favorite plays over in the DraftKings area? I
think we should. So we're starting with trucks, correct?
We are starting with trucks. So we get one play, but of course, I think you need to jam in Corey Haim. I think you need to jam in Christian Eckes. I think those are fairly obvious. We talked about it to nauseum probably yesterday on the betting episode. Those are going to be the fastest truck. Those are going to be the best guys. So to save some money, Rod, I'm going all the way down to 5,900 and Mr. Timmy Hill. One of my just consistently favorite plays in whatever series, really. Well, when he runs the series on super speedways, I should specify. But in the Xfinity or trucks, love going to either Hill brother, Timmy or Tyler. They're so good at taking care of their stuff. They're veterans. They've been around. They're going to keep it clean. They're going to be there at the end. That's what I love about them. So you go back and you look at what he's done this season. A couple of weeks ago, he had 36 points. Let's see, XFL 225. Where was that at? That was at
that was last week at Richmond, wasn't it?
That was not.
Oh no, that was
no, because they didn't go to. So that must have been
Austin?
Bristol.
Bristol,
I think. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I should probably have looked up the actual race, but it doesn't matter. Rod, 36 fantasy points at 5,800 that week. Started in 27th, finished in 17th. That's what you look for from Timmy Hill. That's what you get from Timmy Hill. Go back to the Weather Guard truck race. That was at Phoenix. 21 points. Starts in 27th again. 30. Okay, Rod, 4 races in a row. He started in 27th. I just want to throw that out there. So he's really good at qualifying 27th. If you can get an exact 27th qualifying position for him, you're going to get it. But 24th place there. But you go back and you look at what Timmy Hill has done in the Truck Series of Martinsville. I want to remind you, Rod, a weaker field in a general sense, right? We don't have the cup ringers. Sammy Smith is the only ringer, if you want to call him a ringer. I don't want to call him a ringer. So that's going to offer Timmy Hill some more spots over some of these just less experienced guys. He's got 9 starts here in the Truck Series. But you go back and you look what he's done here previously. Starts 28th last spring, finishes 19th. Again, you'll take that. That's going to pay you enough points at 5,900. That's a great day for Timmy Hill. You go back to the spring of 22, starts 20th, finishes 23rd. You'll even take that. October of 21, starts 24th, finishes 10th. Previous to that, starts 23rd and finishes 14th. Rod in 2019, he's 22nd, finished 5th. He wasn't in a Kyle Busch Motorsports truck, nothing crazy. He was in a Hill Motorsports number 56 truck, same one he's been driving here for years. But you go back and you look at his previous finishes before that, 21st, 24th, 36th, or 26th. He was 31st in his very first start, but since then, it's been all good finishes. I mean, you go back over his last 5 races, worst finishes, 23rd place. You're going to take that every time from a guy that is only 5,900. So not someone we talked about on the betting episode. Hard to find a good way to get in on him. Now, if they offer top 10 odds, maybe something we would look at if we could get that, finishing position of better than whatever, 19th or something like that. Maybe you look at going over, but we don't have those options just yet. But Timmy Hill's definitely a guy you're probably going to want to play in fantasy this week. Saves you a lot of money, allows you to kind of get a little more crazy at the top of the board, which, again, in a overall weaker field, you really want to get those top couple of guys, specifically for me, Heim and Eckes. Some people might want to do Majeski as well. Again, I don't like to go that route, but yeah, I think that Timmy Hill is a really, really good play. Jumps off the board to me this week at 5,900.
Yeah, and you're going to have somebody in that range too, I think, because the top guys are going to be the top guys, and we talk about all of those guys at the top of this field for DraftKings. I mean, you're looking at Corey Heim at 11,000, Ty Majeski at 10,700, Eckes at 10,500, Enfinger at 10,200. The top of the field is definitely loaded up. So somewhere I think you can actually save a lot of money and have good return on it is somebody I talked about in the betting episode. We both kind of are on all over Matt Crafton. That 88 truck, highly undervalued this week, $8,500 for a guy who I think can be a top 5 truck easily, right? I have already called him out as a top forward in the betting episode, which puts him somewhere in that 3rd to 5th range, in my opinion. But I mean, you look back at his finishes this year alone, and it's almost like you said before. Are we talking about 24-year-old Matt Crafton? Or are we talking about 44-year-old Matt Crafton? Because right now it feels like this dude's found the fountain of life, short of last week's or last time out rather in Austin, where he got the 23rd place finish, which was the Expel race.
Oh, was it? Why was it 225? What a weird name for a road course.
Remember, it had no bearing.
Yeah, it had no bearing. See, then that throws everything off.
It was the kilometers.
That's all right.
But yeah, so he finished 23rd in that one. Not a good day. But before that, Bristol, 4th place. After a 20th place start, which, by the way, good for 65 points on a $7,700 salary. Come on,
that's
now.
So, Rod, if he doesn't qualify good.
Yes.
Get off your place differential. Don't be scared away if he doesn't qualify good.
Yep. All the better. And then the week before that, he started 15th in Vegas, finished 7th in that race, which was good enough for 45 points on a $7,500 salary. Hell, even in the fresh from Florida 250 at Daytona, right? 41 points on an $8,400 salary, started 11th, finished 7th. So Matt Crafton really quietly being one of those stronger guys for you in DFS week in and week out. I mean, you talk about pricing and everything like that. Matt Crafton easily within the top 10 of fantasy points per race, in front of guys like Ankrum, Sanchez, Timmy Hill, like you were talking about, I know with the one race, but Ty Majeski, he's in front of him as well. I mean, Matt Crafton, if he's not in your DFS lineup this week, I don't know if you're playing it right.
Yeah, I think that he's a must play. It probably doesn't even matter where he starts. If he starts good, if he starts bad, I think you're going to want to jam him in the $8,500. It's a great price. 3 top 7 finishes the last 4 times here at Martinsville. I've got an underdog play on him coming up in a little bit. That's might be one of my favorites of all of the underdog plays this week. So we're going to talk about that. You put those 2 guys in, Rod. If you toss in Heim and Eckes at the top of the board, you still have $7,000 for your last 2, each for your last 2 spots. You can throw in a Sawalich at $8,900. You throw in a Honeycutt at $6,300, fill out that lineup. You you can get pretty solid lineup using these two guys as kind of your starting block. Throw in those two expensive guys that I think you're almost going to need to have, and you still get two other solid plays in here. So, man, Swalach at 6,900, nice by the way. Nice. That's one that I really really like this week as well. Just to kind of toss that out there.
Can I just toss one more stat in because this is astounding?
Do it.
Matt Crafton, 117 short track starts in his Truck Series career. 3 wins, okay, 29 top 5s, 75 top 10s. I mean, his average finish on his 100.
How many drivers in this field do you think have 75 career Truck Series starts?
None.
Let alone 75 top 10 finishes on short tracks. 2 of those wins here at Martinsville. 40 of those starts are here at Martinsville too. So again, in a weaker field in an overall sense, Matt Crafton is a really good bet this week. He's a really good play in DraftKings. We're going to talk about him in an underdog here in a little bit too. So all aboard the 88 train this week, Rod. We're pretending like it's 2004 all over again.
We're going to party like it's 2004. All right, let's move to the Xfinity Series. Again, it is the 250 version of this one. So we have 250 laps in this Dude Wipes 250. So where are we going for this one, Cody?
Yes, Rod. I am going to go to $8,000. Mr. Taylor Gray. $8,000 for a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota that's not manned by Joe Graff Jr. or Sheldon Creed, Rod. Sign me up every fucking time. Did they not watch the race last week? Were they not paying any attention? Taylor Gray finished 3rd place at Richmond in his first career start in the Xfinity Series last week. Like, what are we doing here? I just don't understand this. Man, I think he's a good, actually, we maybe should have brought him up in the Truck Series too, but absolutely love him in the Xfinity Series. Roddy scored 70.4 points at $8,500 last week, and they dropped his price by $500. Again, a dash for cash race. No Cup Series guys in this one. Eric Almirola is the other Joe Gibbs guy that's down in this one. I just don't understand it. 3rd place last week. You go back and you look at his truck statistics here. He has an 8th place finish here in 2022. In his 4th career Truck Series start in 2021, Rod. 8th place at 16 years old. Taylor Gray is that guy. We've been talking about him for a while. Now he's getting these great opportunities in a super fucking fast car. I don't know how you can leave Taylor Gray out of your lineup this week. $8,000 for a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota with a great driver in it that's going to be as fast as Taylor Gray is going to be. Man, sign me up for that.
Is he faster than Xfinity Internet?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't look and see what his price was on the Truck Series, but you said we had like $7,000. I want to know if Taylor Gray is within that 7,000 range, because that is a hell of a lineup right there in the Truck Series. We didn't even talk about him for that. You're right.
So he is, he's 7,800. So but that's not bad at all. So I mean, again, if you're doing Eckes, Heim, you toss in Crafton, Hill, and then you go Taylor Gray, it's still, 6,300. That's not bad. You can still get Caden Honeycutt in there, who I mentioned before. Jack Wood at 6,000. Honestly, probably isn't a bad play back in the Truck Series there either, being in that McAnally truck, being a veteran. So yeah, he's definitely alive in the Truck Series as well. And honestly, a guy you might need to force in your lineup there as well, just from look at what his truck season has been this year. Like, again, momentum is something we believe in. He's got all the momentum in the world right now in both series, in the Truck Series and in the Cup Series. Not the Cup Series yet, but maybe soon, Rod, in the Xfinity Series. So ride that momentum and keep rolling with Taylor Gray.
You were just promoting him, and that's fine. I mean, I think the kid deserves it sooner rather than later.
Did I give him that 42 ride already? Damn. That's Corey Himes, right? I'm sorry.
Speaking of somebody that should be jumping up into a quick, I hear that the 3 car is looking for a new driver, and I'm thinking that one Jesse Love could be the guy that steps up into that role here sooner rather than later.
I think Big Country might have something to say about that.
I think he does, but I love me some Love. And honestly, listen, for what it's worth, Big Country's right there with them in the tie. Austin Hill, we're talking about Big Country, Austin Hill. He's third in terms of fantasy points per race at 48.8, but his teammate is not far behind. He's only 2 spots off of the pace, 40.6 fantasy points per race for the young rookie driving this number 2 car. Impressive. I don't even care. The kid is running hot right now. Look at his, like I said, 40.6 fantasy points per race. He had 43 points last week, 46 the week before, 48 the week before that, 27 the week before that, 64 points in Atlanta when he led 157 laps in that race. So if you're keeping score, that's 5th at Richmond, 6th in Austin, 2nd at Phoenix, 17th at Las Vegas. I mean, the guy has done nothing short of been phenomenal for you overall in this series. And again, his first time out. I mean, this is his first full-time season. He's seeing a lot of these tracks for the first time in record history. So he's killing it right now in that 2 car, and it's not been bad. But what's really impressive is when you look at what he's done at the ARCA Menard Series level on short tracks. 22 career races in the ARCA Menard Series, 4 wins, 16 top 5s, 20 top 10s. He has only finished outside of the top 10 twice in his entire career in the ARCA Menards on short tracks. His average finish, 4.2 in that span. He's shown that he can be that kind of a driver in the Xfinity Series right now, and there's no reason for you to not try to find some way. He's $9,400. I mean, looking at the top salaries on this, Chandler Smith, $1,100, Eric Almirola, $10,800. You're going to have to fit those guys in there. But when you go down to Jesse Love at $9,400, that's a pretty good GPP play to pivot off of those top 2 guys, just in case something busts loose and either one of those guys get caught up in it. And Jesse Love is in there in 3rd place at the end of the race, and Smith and Almirola wreck out, right? I mean, it just that kind of a situation where a guy like Love can give you a good leverage against some of the bigger guys on there.
Yes, I love the Love play at 9,400, Rod. You put Love in at 9,400, you put Gray in at 8,000, gives you a lot of wiggle room. Eric Almirola, I think, has to be put in your lineup this week, 10,800 near the top of the board. But then you can fit in guys like, you can all go all the way down to 4,800 with Leland Honeyman. He's not a bad play at all. Again, in that Young's Motorsports car has actually been pretty solid. You can toss Austin Hill in there still, and you can throw in a guy like Corey Heim. That's a really solid lineup you've got there. Again, pre-practice and qualifying. Again, I wouldn't look too much into practice again, but qualifying obviously will depend where people are starting. But yeah, really, really solid plays there. So good foundation to build a nice Xfinity Series lineup.
Indeed. All right, let's move to the Cup Series. It's the Cookout 400 laps, considerably more than the last 2 races, almost 50 laps less than the last 2 combined. But yeah, let's definitely give you our favorite building block driver for this DFS slate.
Yeah, so again, I think you're going to need to play the pole sitter. Keep that in mind. It's going to be a popular play, but probably going to be one of those popular plays, one of those chalky plays you're just going to have to take because that's how it works, Rod. I am going to go to Mr. Chase Briscoe. Yes. Chase Briscoe, a guy that we love to take on short flat tracks, especially Martinsville, Rod. He is really good here, and he's still only priced at $7,500. That is a way mispriced. He should not be this cheap. He was $7,600 last week at Richmond. Scored you 39 solid points, starting 32nd, finishing 18th, a decent day for him there. You go back to Phoenix earlier this season, another shorter, flatter track, right? Starts in 8th place, so even with a good starting position, finishes in 9th place, 34.9 points. Good, solid day for a guy at 7,500. But you look back at Martinsville and what he has done. Of course, the page crashes as I go to look at it, Rod. But last season at Martinsville, top 5 in what the fuck is going on here? Jeez, there we go. Top 5 in both races.
Do I need to throw a technical difficulties thing up
yes.
there?
Just the little spinny thing that says loading, because that's what I was getting. But Look, he started in third place last season, finished in fourth place. He was up there front all day. You go back to the spring race last year, starts in fourth. Ryan Preece leads the first 137 laps. Then he gets the speeding penalty. Chase Briscoe inherits it, leads 109 laps. Starts fourth, finishes in fifth. A really, really good day for Chase Briscoe. If somebody like this has got the upside of leading 109 laps, you're going to need fast laps, and laps led are going to be crucial this week. His other two starts in the next gen, 9th and 9th, Rod. He has been really good here in the next gen car in his 4 starts. Only 7,500. A guy we didn't talk about on the betting episode because there wasn't a great way to get in on him betting wise, because the books have learned, because we've continued to hit him every time we come here, right? And they've priced him accordingly. But at only 7,500, definitely a good solid fantasy play this week.
Lots of SHR love for everybody in the across the series is actually. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on Briscoe. It's definitely one of those ones where I think in a GPP for sure, because I know that he's probably going to be popular in cash games, especially if everybody listens to all of the betting shows, because most of everybody's on SHR in some way, shape, or form, and most people are on Briscoe. So, but again, you know, if he pops and you're without him, you definitely don't want to be on that side of it. So I'll go with you on that one. I'm bumping it up just a little bit for my Cup Series guy. I'm going to take Ross Chastain. He's $8,300. Look, Ross Chastain, believe it or not, is actually among the top drivers, and you may not think so, but he is actually in 6th place overall in terms of fantasy points per race. He's got 40.7 points per race over the course of the season, and it's not as if one number is totally skewing his whole thing. Last week at Richmond, 17 points, not very good. He did start 3rd, ended up 15th. He just didn't have it that day for whatever reason, and I'm not quite sure. Again, I sort of count that out, but 39 points in Austin, 52 points in Bristol, right, which is kind of what we're really, but of course that was kind of skewed because he started in the back in 36th, but he worked his way up to 15th. So heaven help us, let him start back in the back of the pack this week. That'll definitely give us a good start there. And then the week before that, started 12th and finished 6th in Phoenix. That's kind of where I'm expecting Ross Chastain to be more of that type of driver, the one to get you 45 points this week. And if he does on an $8,300 salary, I think you'll be quite happy. And honestly, listen, over the last couple of races here at Martinsville, 13, 14 finishes. In the spring, he finished 13th. In the fall, he finished 14th. In the spring, he started 34th rather, and moved up to 13th. Led 31 laps in that. So you want to talk about a solid DFS day? That's about as solid as it gets. You lead 31 laps, you start 34th, finish 13th. That's fantastic. But then you go back to the 2022 season, started 27th in the spring, finished 5th, started 9th in the fall, finished 4th. Now, granted, the fall and the spring are much different races. The fall are usually 500 laps. The spring are 400. So kind of take the fall with a grain of salt. But in the spring, like I said, 27th to 5th, that's a fantastic start. 34th to 13th, those are great things. Base points for 13th place is 29 points. So even if he finishes in 13th, you still get a pretty solid 30 points out of him at $8,000. I mean, I think that's a good baseline for you, and maybe a good floor, where his ceiling could be a top 4 finish, top 5 finish, like we saw in the fall of the spring and fall of 2022.
Not sold, Rod. Not sold.
I know you're not.
Bonus play for you. Underdog, he's at 13.5. I'll take the worst then. I don't like Chastain this week. I think that their short track package looks a lot like the RCR short track package. Not been very good. I don't expect a lot out of Chastain this week, so I will disagree with you there. But at 8,300, you can definitely make a case, as good of a driver as he is. You know, if he can dig in and find that upside, maybe he'll ride the wall at the end to get there. Just kidding, because you can't do that anymore. But even if you do play Ross Chastain, much to my chagrin, and you toss him in there with Chase Briscoe, leaves you room. Look, we talked about this being a chalky week. You're going to have to get some big, heavy hitters in here. You toss in a Hamlin, you toss in a Truex. I'm all over the Gibbs guys again this week. I think you're going to need those guys. You can still get 2 solid punt plays in Corey LaJoie at 5,800, Carson Hocevar at 5,900. Those guys should be okay for you this week, and you can still have a pretty solid lineup this way. So, yeah, I like it. Good building. Well, a good building block and Ross Chastain.
Indeed. All right, get out your pen and paper. I'm going over our DFS plays for the slate before we get you our underdog plays. Cody started you off with Timmy Hill as his truck building block at 5,900. I gave you Matt Crafton as my truck building block at 8,500. Cody gave you Taylor Gray as his Xfinity, not truck. I know it's tempting to want to think it's a truck, but no, this is Xfinity for 8,000. I gave you Jesse Love at 9,400. Cody gave you Brisk, yes, for the Cup Series play at 7,500. And I said Ross Chastain would be a decent enough, at least GPP building block at 8,300, because maybe a lot of people feel like Cody and they don't want to take Chastain, but that's okay. That's why you take down a GPP. All right. Underdog fantasy plays for each of the slate. If you are unfamiliar with Underdog fantasy, stop.
Get familiar. If you're unfamiliar, get familiar.
I had to stop because I'm like, why would you be unfamiliar at this point? So Underdog fantasy, simple premise. They give you a finishing position that they think that the drivers are going to finish at. You either pick whether you think they're going to finish better than that or worse than that. I'm not a smart man. That makes perfect sense to me. So if it makes sense to me, it definitely makes sense to you. And then, of course, you can stack up as many as 2 to 5 drivers. The multiplier, it gets larger according to how many players you pick. And then, you just keep going until you reach the max. And hopefully you cash out with us.
Yeah, and they offer an insurance play. So, if you pick 5 of them, you get 4 right. You can get paid at, a little bit of a lesser rate if you want to go the safer play. Again, you can do cross sports if you want to do 1 truck, 1 Xfinity, 1 Cup, 1 women's basketball, 1 men's basketball. However you want to do it throughout the things, you can do it. And Underdog has got other stuff. They've got, I was doing a best ball draft. I was in the chat with the guys from the Sports Gambling Podcast the other day while they were doing a live one, drafting alongside of them. I've got a fair number of best ball teams already for this next season, Rod. But yeah, Underdog, if you're not on there, you are missing out big time. So get over on Underdog, Rod. And here's the reason you get over on Underdog. They're offering Matt Crafton in the Truck Series at 13.5. We just got done talking about how fucking good Matt Crafton is at Martinsville, how weak this Truck Series field is, how Matt Crafton looks like he's 24 years old again, Rod, and how 3 times in the last 4 races he's finished inside the top 7. That is clearing 13.5 by quite a bit. So Matt Crafton, better than 13.5. Again, we've already talked about him. That was a quick summary of why you're taking him. But this is probably my favorite Underdog. I'm going to go build a lot of Underdog lineups today before practice and qualifying kickoff, and they pull these lines down because, Matt Crafton better than 13.5 is going into a lot of my builds this weekend.
That is definitely a free square if ever there was one. I honestly, and I don't know what they were looking at when they made this one, but I mean, look, that's fine. Give it to me. Give it to me all day long. Matt Crafton definitely going to finish better. Top 5 finish, in my opinion. Winning this race, in my opinion. So way better than 13.5.
I would also like to point out just quickly, Sammy Smith, worse than 3.5. That's the second lock of the year in the Truck Series.
Well, again, listen to the betting episode. I have a little different opinion of that, but I can't fault you for it. Remember I said Sammy Smith could do one of 2 things. He could either drive that 7 truck into the top 3 or he cannot, which is the 2, prolific.
Wow. That was, we'll have to write that down in the books so that lives on forever, Rod.
Can I cut that out and put that in my,
Technically, we are recording this ahead of time, so you could edit that out if you wanted to.
No, I'm going to keep it in because.
Well, I know you are because they just heard it.
Yeah, well, 1,000%. I'm going to live by that. In fact, I want that on my tombstone. He either can keep living,
he could finish in the top 3, or he could not finish in the top 3. It's there's really only 2 paths here, Rod.
No, it's late. I don't even. Listen. One guy who I don't think is going to finish in the top 3. I don't even think he's going to finish in the top 3rd. I don't think he's going to finish in the top 2/3 of this race. I love Stuart Friesen. I want many, many Molsons with Stuart Friesen.
How the mighty have fallen, Rod.
Right? God blessed. Like, if I could sit around and drink Molson.
Matt Crafton found the youth stone, and Stuart Friesen did not.
he's up in the Great White North, just freezing his ass off right now. But Stuart Friesen's projected finishing position is 15.5. I mean, last season, I'd tell you to hammer the hell out of that because I love Stuart Friesen, but I'm a realist in this situation, and I can't tell you to do that anymore. Got to go worse than 15.5 for Stuart Friesen. Just the last 3 races on this alone are reason for you to do it. 17th, 13th, 30th. Yes, Rod, 13th is better than 15.5, but 17th and 30th are not, which is what I'm really looking at. And this season too, 14th at Daytona, 23rd at Atlanta, 18th at Las Vegas, 22nd at Bristol, 20th at Austin. Friesen, where are you, buddy? That 52 truck has not found any sort of success so far this season, and this is not a track for him to get on the right track either. It's literally a frustrating. It is road course career in the Truck Series. He has 12 Truck Series starts on road courses, 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and his average finish. I'm sorry, short tracks, 28.
I was gonna say, why are we talking about road courses, Rob?
My eyes.
It is late or early. You decide. This is gonna hit your feet early in the morning, so we'll let you figure out what time it is.
Short track racing, 28 short tracks, but still 6 top 5s, 12 top 10s. His average finish on short tracks, 14.2, which is only 1 position better on average. And right now he's below average. So this is not good for Stuart Friesen. And 15.5 feels like a number he should hit, but I don't think he's going to get there this week.
Yeah, it's hard to argue for him. I mean, you can look a little farther back in his Martinsville stuff. He's got some 6th place finishes, some decent runs here, but that was a different Stuart Friesen. That was a different time. Current form Stuart Friesen is just not good until we see something to determine otherwise. I think that we've got to go that route. There's been some rumors about some of the ownership kind of pulling back there. I don't know if money's tight, what the deal is going on, but things have not been well in the Friesen camp, unfortunately. We hate to see it because he's a guy we've loved betting on. We've always found good numbers on him and made money off of him, but as of late, it's been pretty rough for them. So I think until things look better, we're going to have to continue to fade him. So I agree with you on the Friesen worse than 15.5 here.
Tears of maple syrup are falling from my eyes. All right, Cody, let's go to the Xfinity Series.
Tears have never sounded so delicious, Rod. This is weird.
Hey, do I smell bacon? Canadian bacon? I don't know.
Now I'm hungry.
Speaking of hungry, you're going to need dude wipes after that.
All right, let's go to the dude wipes race and clean up these maple syrup tears with Austin Hill better than 12.5. Rod, there's one rule on the Xfinity Series show every week, and it's just take Austin Hill because he's going to be there at the end, and he's going to show up, and he's going to do well. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you besides that when it comes to Austin Hill. Austin Hill just puts himself in position week in and week out. You go back and you look at what he's done this season, Rod. I will say the last couple of weeks haven't been necessarily the greatest for him, right? Although, actually, no, I was looking at the wrong stat line. I was going to say, I didn't think he'd been that bad. I was looking at his starting lineup. He doesn't start well. That's what I was thinking. Rod, his finishes this season. We are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 races into the season. Last week, 8th place, his worst finish of the season. And he was 6th place with 5 laps to go, lost 2 spots at the end. Every other race, I mean, he's got 2 wins, a 2nd place, a 3rd, and 2 4th place finishes in the other races this season. 12.5, are you kidding me? If you go back and you look at last season, he did finish 21st in the fall race here, but Rod, he was 4th place in stage 1. He led 22 laps early in that race, got caught up in an accident. That kind of stuff happens, right? You go back to the spring of last year, he led 8 laps in the course of that race, a little bit of an off day, and did finish 16th. So the last two races here, I get it. That's why I think his number's down a little bit. But 2022 in his first 2 starts here, 4th place, 9th place. That's the Austin Hill we know and love. That's the Austin Hill we're going to see this weekend like we see it every other week. 8th place is his worst finish this year, and you're getting a cushion of an extra 4 spots. That includes road courses. That includes super speedways. He is just good everywhere, and he gets it done. Austin Hill better than 12.5. Again, it's almost like they're making it too easy for us, Rod. I feel scared because it feels so easy, but you got to take these lines because they just don't make any sense.
Is it that they're holding out these golden apples for us? And like, if we take a bite, we're going to know all of good and evil. Like, maybe I shouldn't take this. And maybe it is a little too good. Damn you, serpent, for
this beautiful apple is just right here. It's just like, I can eat this.
Oh,
you sure? Like,
no, I'm gonna die. Oh, this sucks. I hate life. Please take me back. No, I can't even argue with you. That's the one commandment. It's almost as etched in stone as always fade Kyle Larson on a super speedway. Always take Austin Hill as the top 5. It's, that's the rule of all rules. And if every week,
it's basically the 2 commandments of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
It is. In fact, we should probably get merch idea for that. We should get a shirt that says that.
We need a couple more commandments. Fade SVG in the Cup Series. Oh, just kidding. I had to. Why we almost went a full show without it, Rod. Damn it, I slipped up. Go back and edit this part out. Jeez.
This whole show is going to get edited. It's going to be redacted. All you're literally going to hear for the entirety of
it's going to be picks. It's going to be Matt Crafton better than 13.5. Austin Hill better than 12.5. Next guy. Okay, that's it. We're done.
You're essentially going to hear the whole time because I'm just going to lay on the button. And they're like, why is it all that button?
Are they talking about Daniel that long?
Oh, yeah, the whole time. Yeah, so I can't argue with that. One that we didn't talk about, we never really talked about Cole Custer in the betting episode. And I went back.
We never do every week, Rod, because he's in that sweet spot of, yeah, but he's better than Joey Logano. Like, he's solid every week, but he's just never, like, you never get a good number to bet on him. You got to pick and choose your spots with them. But yeah, he doesn't get talked about as much as he should. I will agree with you there.
Yeah. And honestly, and that's the thing about the betting episode too, that we kind of have a freedom to talk about other drivers in the DFS and the underdog, because we're not tied to the odds. In fact, in this case, I really love that underdog is giving me Cole Custer at a 5.5 placed finishing position, because I'm taking the better than in this instance. And it's because Cole Custer is fully capable of doing everything, and including winning this race. He hasn't done it yet, but he started on the pole in the spring of 2023 and finished 3rd, led 5 laps along the way. In the fall of 2023, started 3rd, finished 19th on this track, led a lap, but he was in the mix in both of the stages. In fact, he was 2nd at the end of stage 1. He was 7th at the end of stage 2. He got caught up in an accident on lap 187 that had the 51, the 26, the 24, the 27, and the 41. So a big accident in turn 2 that kind of ruined his day altogether. But, Cole Custer overall this season, 2nd at Las Vegas after starting on the pole, 5th at Phoenix after starting on the pole, 4th in Austin. So a road course there. 3rd place at Richmond, or 3rd place start at Richmond rather, finished 10th in that one. And again, he was basically in the mix in most of it too. He was 7th at the end of stage 1, 9th at the end of stage 2, not too far away from that type of a finish, a good finish, a top 5 finish for Cole Custer. In particular, though, when you look at his stats on road course races in particular, or road course, Jesus Christ, Rod, short tracks in particular, 24 starts in short track racing for Cole Custer, 1 win, 10 top 5s, 16 top 10s, an average finishing position of 10.5 in that one. So he's a perennial top 10 car on short tracks. And honestly, I don't think it's a stretch to consider him a top 5 car. And the only reason, like you said, we don't talk about him in betting episodes is because the numbers aren't good for him in top 5s, in top 3s, and most of the time outrights. So yeah, if I can get Cole Custer in this underdog lineup for better than 5.5, give that to me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at as far as the betting aspect goes, he's like minus 130, minus 140 for a top 5. So books are pretty confident he's going to do top 5, right? Hard to bet a number like that and a guy you're not overly confident in, but just tossing them into your underdog plays when it feels pretty safe is a good way to get on it. Again, the outright number, he's not much bigger than an Eric Almirola, than a Chandler Smith. You're going to look at those places first. So makes it hard to bet on it. Glad this is a good way to talk about him and a good way to get in on him, have some action on Cole Custer, because, He's probably going to be tough to play in DraftKings because he's a higher priced guy, but is he going to lead you a ton of laps? Probably not. You're going to need more of an Eric Almirola. So again, this is almost the only way I could find to get in on Custer this week. So yeah, I'm glad you highlighted this one, and I like it as well.
Yeah, again, it's just so hard to talk about some of these guys sometimes. All right, let's move on to the Cup race, our 400 lap race over there, the Cookout 400 in Martinsville. Cody, who do you got?
Yeah, I might put together an entire lineup this week of just Cup Series underdogs that are worse than, Rod. They're laying some good numbers out here. We talked about this being a very chalky race. We're pretty certain on what type of drivers are going to do what. We both took a worse than on this, and I think it's important. You've got to work worse thans into these. That's been the most successful formula. I know we all want to root for the overs when you're betting, and you want to root for the higher thens when you're playing underdog, but sometimes you got to work some worse thens in here. Rod, for me, Tyler Reddick is my worst then. It's set at 13.5 over on underdog. This breaks my heart. You know that I don't like to do it. I love Tyler Reddick. I'm huge on him. But Rod, in 4 next-gen races at Martinsville. First next-gen race, he started here 18th place, 5 spots worse than 13.5, right? And it's gotten worse from there. 35th, 22nd, 26th. He's just not good. You go back to Richmond last week, 10th place. That was a very lucky finish for him. He was not anywhere close to 10th place before that last caution, before that last set of pit stops. That worked out well for him. He caught a break. Tyler Reddick, just not a short track guy. For whatever reason, he just can't seem to figure it out. There's times where it just, over time, it's continued to surprise me. And it's like, God, why is Tyler Reddick just so fucking bad today? Like, what's going on? And then you start to see, like, oh, it's just he's not good on short tracks. I think we're going to Texas next week. I really should look at the schedule because I should probably know this. But I'm pretty sure Texas is next week, Rod. I'll be fucking betting on Tyler Reddick at Texas because he's going to be fast. He's going to look good. He's going to compete for the win. Short track in Martinsville, he's not good here. He hasn't been good here in the next gen car. And gotta fade Tyler Reddick this week. And again, pains me, but we're here to make money. And I think Reddick worse than 13.5. Probably my favorite. Well, and that's why I put it in here, obviously. But my favorite of the Cup Series picks because, man, he's just, I don't see him being any good this weekend at all. I think he's going to be a 20 to 25th place car all day, and you're just not going to hear from him and not even remember that he's in this race.
And what's sad is that we know Toyotas are going to be spectacular on this track.
Yes. And Bubba will probably be really good. And Tyler Reddick will just be out to lunch because he just, and I don't know what it is. He's such a talented driver, and he's so good on road courses too. And a lot of times, I know you keep bringing up road courses on accident, but a lot of times road courses transfer to tracks like Martinsville where it's a lot of braking and use like that. And, the corners are similar to road course stuff, but man, he can't figure it out. And I don't know if it's the way his car is being set up. I don't know if he's just not any good at, I don't know what the deal is, but it's not been working out for him. So got to fade him because that's where the money is this week.
Well, I mean, I guess it's like me. Like I'm fantastic at talking football all day. I could definitely hold my own in NASCAR, but you put me on basketball. There's no way on God's green earth I'm talking anything. And it's not that I can't talk. It's just I don't know what the hell to say when I'm talking basketball. Like, yeah, dribble down. Yay.
We got to work on this, Rod. Basketball is a beautiful sport. My goodness.
Cannot stand it.
Oh, I grew up. That was my sport when I was a kid. I a big basketball guy, and I love watching basketball.
Well, I can't stand watching basketball. You know what else I can't stand is watching Kyle Busch. No, I'm just kidding. All right, here's the thing. I'm talking about Kyle Busch. All right, Kyle Busch at Martinsville has led the second most laps around this track. 1,429 laps he's led to Denny Hamlin's 2,382. Kyle Busch has the second most top 10 finishes in his 37 career starts, 21 top 10 finishes. Kyle Busch has 17 top 5 finishes in his 32 or 37 starts here on Martinsville, 2 career wins. Kyle Busch will finish this race worse than 16.5. I've contradicted myself on every turn on this instance, but here's why. I don't know what it is about 2024 Kyle Busch. Somebody must have threatened his life to run well because he has not done anything that
Lexi in the comments on Tuesday during the Cup show I think he's wrecked in every single Cup Series race this season. And she's not wrong. He's constantly spinning out and having all sorts of issues.
Alone too. It's not like sometimes he's spinning out by himself. I mean, I don't know, Kyle, if you need us to send you money to free your teddy bear that they're holding hostage, and if you don't do good finishes, this may be the ugly side of gambling. I don't know, but we'll help. Okay. Kyle Busch this season. All right. 26th at Vegas, 22nd at Phoenix, 25th at Bristol. Yeah, he had a 9th place at Austin, but hey, guess what? That's a road course, who I am continually bringing up road courses and have no premise whatsoever over this. And then 20th at Richmond. I don't care what he did last year. I don't care what he's done 10 years ago. This year, this is not the Kyle Busch that we're used to seeing. So you can read me every single stat that he's ever done in his life, how many wins he's got on short tracks, how many top 10s he's got on short tracks. It doesn't matter. Kyle Busch this season has not performed like Kyle Busch that we've seen him before. Is this a track where he could maybe turn it around? You would hope so.
That's not.
But it's not. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not it. Like this is not necessarily where he's going to get it done. And over the last couple of seasons too, you look at his last 3 races on this track, right? 29th in the fall of 2022, 21st in the spring of 2023, 27th in the fall of, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's spring or if it's fall. It's been a 20th place or worse finish for him since he's ended his career with Gibbs and began his career with Childress. So 16.5. Give me Busch worse then.
Yeah, I love this one as well. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like Busch, Chastain, Reddick. There's a lot of worse ends on the board that I really like this week. And RCR has just been horrible when it comes to the short track package. It's not been any good. Kyle Busch, again, he's a generational talent. I mean, one of the best drivers in the entire series. Look at all his wins. I mean, over 200 wins across the 3 national series. Like, so good at everything, but it's just been everything has sort of been a struggle for him the last couple of years. And he won 3 races last year, so maybe not everything, but it's been rough and current form more so than, yes, he's got all these wins, he's led all these laps, all the stuff you read off at the beginning, but that's not translated lately. You go back to Bristol a few weeks ago where he owns Bristol, right? And he wasn't any good there either. Like, it just, it's been rough for Kyle lately, and I think that's going to continue this weekend. I think him and Tyler Reddick might just be racing each other for 25th all day, and I would not be surprised by that one bit, even though those are 2 names that should be racing for 5th, not 25th, and it wouldn't shock me to see him that far back.
I mean, not that this is a philosophical podcast in any way, shape, or form, but at some point, when you've achieved as much success as some of these drivers have, and you go through a slump like this, what makes you just not want to wake up in the morning and go, well, I'm definitely comfortable.
He'll be fine,
like,
Rod. He's living a pretty good life. I mean, his wife's got it going on. He's got, look at his son, what he's doing in racing. He's got a beautiful daughter now. Everything's good at home for him. I don't think he's too sad when he's going to bed at night, but he'll be fine. I think they'll get things figured out. It's Kyle Busch still. He's like I said, one of the better drivers we've ever seen in NASCAR. And they'll get things figured out, but definitely a rough patch right now. And especially, and again, I don't know if we mentioned this on the betting episode, or maybe it was even last week, like, we're just in a stretch of bad races for them right now. I think as we transition back into 1.5 miles and, you've got other races coming up that will be different, I think things will look better for them, but the short tracks are not where it's at. Look, we've been to Phoenix, we've been to Bristol, we've been to Richmond. Now we're at Martinsville. It's been a lot of short tracks here lately. We're kind of in a stretch of them where they've struggled. So might be some value on a Kyle Busch as we start looking ahead towards the next couple of weeks and get better numbers on him after horrendous performances, which is what we love. And again, that's why you have to be always willing to adjust and know what's going on and understand, because I'm telling you right now, Tyler Reddick's going to be absolute trash this weekend. And then I'm going to turn around and bet on him next weekend because where we're at, what the circumstances are, and how things look.
Yeah, and let's not get it twisted. Kyle Busch finishing 17th, he's still going to make more than I make in 5 years. So it doesn't even matter at this point.
Ooh, 5 years. That's probably more than that for me, but
Well,
That's why they pay you the big bucks, Rod.
okay, maybe 10 years. I don't know. I don't know what he gets paid for a 17th place finish, but I got to think that it's way more.
I'm guessing it's a lot more than we make.
Yeah, I would say so. So Kyle, don't even care what I have to say. Half the time, nobody cares what I have to say. All right, let's get out your pen and paper, and we'll go over what we'll find out what the Blues Clues said about our underdog fantasy picks. Cody started you out with Matt Crafton better than 13.5 in the truck race. I said Stuart Friesen would finish worse than 15.5 in the truck race. Cody said that Austin Hill would finish better than 12.5 in the Xfinity race, where I said Cole Custer would finish better than 5.5 in the Xfinity race. Cody said that Tyler Reddick would finish worse than 13.5 in the Cup race. I said Kyle Busch would still sleep on a silk sheets with all of the amenities, finishing 17th or worse in the Cup race as well. So there it is, Cody. We have given everybody the building blocks for their DFS and Underdog plays this weekend. I like this format better. How about you?
It's a lot of fun. I really like it. Love to hear your feedback too. What you like about it, what you don't like about it. We can handle it. Don't leave it in a podcast review. Just bring it to us. But speaking of that, leave us a nice podcast review. We need some fresh reviews over there. I still got some NASCAR Gambling Podcast stickers, Rod, right here. If you leave a review, hit me up in the DM, send me your address. I will get one in the mail to you. I know our buddy Chris, he's always giving me shit about SVG, but he left a nice, beautiful review for us and should be getting his sticker any day. So shout out to him. We appreciate it. And get over to the YouTube, subscribe over there. We made it. We're at the end of the week, and the trucks are racing tonight, Rod. We don't have to wait any longer. It's almost here. It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. I'm telling you right now, I get so much more excited for race week by the time it's over because all we've done is talk racing. I just want to hurry up and watch it play out. So it's gonna be a fun weekend of racing. Again, like you said, I mean, there's this F1 is going on this weekend, and God, man, there's just so much going on. Still some UFL to watch too if you're into football. So what a time to be alive, my friend.
What a time, Rod. Everybody can follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Find all my stuff over there. Like I said, ton of stuff out. I got the women's Final Four is tonight, Friday night. So go check out my articles. I got a picks article. I got a Underdog DFS article as well. Bosses said those get enough people looking at them. We'll get more for the national championship game. So go give those a click, give them a read, get your plays in. NASCAR article over there. I got all kinds of shit out. So check it all out. Check out the F1 Gambling Podcast from earlier this week as well. They'll race Saturday evening here in the United States time frame. So make sure you're getting in on those. And we'll be back either Sunday night or Monday with a recap and do it all again next week where everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything's bigger in Texas. I left my X's in Texas, which I think I did. Anyways, follow me on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio. Everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review. I got WrestleMania stuff. The biggest WrestleMania ever is happening this weekend. WrestleMania XL from Philadelphia. Make sure you go down. Check out my favorite plays and picks from that as well. Check out the back road. Seth Elliott and I broke it down Richmond style for you there. So go to In Between Media's YouTube channel, check that out. And then of course, all kinds of great stuff going on in the X. So check it out there. All right, we'll be back for the recap of Martinsville and have some fun with you all again next week. So until then, everybody, have some fun out there. Let's go racing and let it ride.